Welcome, everyone. This is our session called Ask the Pros. Employers share their tips and advice on how to create and manage a highly successful internship program. Good morning. I'm Sandy McKnight. I am the Associate Vice President of Access Learning and Success at Cuyahoga Community College. Today, I am here with some esteemed colleagues who are here to share some great information about their organization's internship program. And the focus of today, again, is really on tips. However, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to spend the majority of our time. I have a few questions that I'm going to ask them, but we're going to spend the majority of the time allowing you to ask questions because that's why you're here. We have two mics, one on each side of the room. Please, when I'm finished asking a few questions, I would ask that you line up to the mic so that everyone can hear the questions that you ask because that's why you're here today. I'm going to ask each of my panelists to introduce themselves and tell you just a little bit about their internship program that they have. So I'll start with Mackenzie.
Hello, I'm Mackenzie Hawes. I work at the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District. I'm the Talent Acquisition and Employment Programs Associate. Say that 5 times fast. And I run all of our student programs at the district, so that includes our high school work-study programs, scholarship programs, and our internship programs. We have a pretty extensive internship program here at the district. There's 3 different levels that we recruit for. We have a student assistant position, a B-STEM position, and a paraprofessional position. And we recruit for those positions all year round based on business need as opposed to certain time frames during the year. So, thanks.
Hi everyone, I'm Kelly Diamond and I work at Highland Software in Westlake, Ohio. And my role there is I'm a recruiting program manager. So I oversee the internship program, also oversee the campus ambassador program. And for our interns, we have about over 100 over the summertime. So it's a summer internship program. It's full-time, 12 weeks throughout the summer. And we have interns in about 17 different departments. We are a global office, so we have interns probably in 20 other interns in other locations as well. And then interns range from high school to grad school, but typically it's your undergrad student that we have as interns.
And I'm Jen Coles. I'm with KeyBank, and I am responsible for our leadership and executive programs as well as our corporate intern program. Our corporate intern program has 150 interns spanning 7 different lines of business and 17 different programs within those. And so I work hand in hand with and my team does here, Claire, with our recruiting staff as well as the program managers that are responsible for those programs within the lines of business. In addition, we have 250 in our retail program, and I partner with that manager of that program as well. So 400 interns annually coming into Key. It's a very exciting place to be, and yeah.
Great. I would like to ask each of the panelists, how do you identify intern candidates?
So for the sewer district, we typically focus on the degree program. Since they're going into such a specific area within the organization and our industry is very unique, wastewater. So we focus on a lot of different types of majors, but we really hone in on those degree programs. It's kind of how we focus on what schools we're going to target, but that kind of determines like the type of candidate that we're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, similarly, we look for specific academic programs that'll be good fit for interns. But I guess a little bit about our timeline, I know that was part of the question, is we look for students early fall. We post our positions then, do the recruitment season, career fairs, other type of recruitment events, and then try to have most interns hired by winter break. So we do the bulk of our searching for candidates in the fall time.
And in addition, so similar to what you've both said, and we actively partner with 5 target enterprise priority schools in which we are on campus doing recruiting events. We have a wonderful employee base that will offer referrals throughout the year. Our timeline is similar to yours, Kelly, in that we are looking at in the fall time range into January in which we are actually recruiting.
Great, thank you. Is there a formal interview process at each of your institute or your companies? Is there a formal process? We've heard earlier today that some use Skype, some do, in-person interviews, some use a combination. The question is there a formal interview process?
So for Highland, typically we'll do HR phone screen at first, just a quick, HR overview, and then from there we'll do manager phone interviews. So that's typically an hour long, just over the phone. Some managers, if the students are local, prefer to bring them in, but the majority are just done over the phone. So 2 interviews. Some of our more technical roles, we do have an online assessment test. So before the manager decides to interview them, they'll review that test. But I'd say a pretty quick interview process. We don't have them do anything too lengthy or any type of, everyone does an assessment, so just those 2.
Similar vein, we will do phone screens, and additionally, we will send a business case in advance and bring our folks in for an in-person interview, oftentimes in an interview day in which we will bring multiple people in and make hiring decisions that day, and within 24 hours send out offers.
For us, our selection process is fairly similar to what the full-time employees go through, with the exception of a couple positions. So all of our interns go through a 3-step process with a phone screen, where we just make sure they meet the minimum qualifications, and then they do have a face-to-face interview with the panel members, which typically includes the hiring manager and then a couple other people that they might be working with during their internship. And then the final step is a background check. So,
great. Kelly, this question is for you. At Highland, what are the expectations of the intern supervisor, and do you also have intern mentors, and if so, what are the expectations of each?
So we do have expectations for managers. About a month before the internship program, I'll have a meeting and invite all managers, give them a checklist of things to prepare for the summer, set the expectations there. And some of the expectations are to meet regularly with the interns, weekly or bi-weekly meetings, to give them projects and start thinking about those projects ahead of time. We find that's what interns are really looking for. We want them to help train them, do goal setting throughout the summer, just kind of be a support system. And then we do have a mentor, where every single intern is paired with a mentor. So it's someone that's also on their team. We've even had returning interns or past interns serve as mentors, so that's a good leadership opportunity for them, and it's more of a peer-to-peer, so it makes the interns really comfortable. But the expectations with that is for them to meet with them within their first week. We'll pay for them to have lunch together, and then just to have regular meetings and just be a support system for them too.
How are the mentors selected?
By the manager. The manager picks them.
Okay, great, thank you. The next question is for Mackenzie. What kind of projects do you give interns? We've talked today or heard from other companies about different types of projects. You don't want to just have them do photocopies and, get coffee and those kinds of things. What kind of projects do you give your interns, and are they formally structured?
Yeah, so our projects are based off of what the hiring manager is looking for, so they do select the projects. I work with them typically to kind of solidify them, especially if it's a new hiring manager, but their projects are all in alignment with what that hiring manager or supervisor is going to be working on. So whatever their goals are, they match the projects off of what the hiring manager's goals are. So it's very structured. Some of the projects are 3 projects, but they're bigger projects. Some of them can be as many as 5. It just depends on what those specific projects entail. And then they're kind of listed that way on the job description, so they have a clear understanding of what their projects are going to be during the internship program or position. And then it gives them the tasks listed within those projects, so they have a very clear understanding of what that looks like. Some of the projects they might be working on a day-to-day basis throughout the full time frame of the internship. So it could be 5 projects, but they'll be working on them kind of simultaneously throughout the duration of their internship. Some of them are just individual based, so you do one first and then you go kind of down the line. So,
could you give us a few examples of some projects?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have our water quality and industrial surveillance group that goes out into Lake Erie and the Cuyahoga River, and they take samples to test the water for the bacteria content. And so we have a group of interns. One of their projects is to take those samples and do the sample testing themselves. Another project for them would be to do investigative work alongside our group of investigators. So they do help with a different type of sampling. And then they also do fish populations. So they do a lot of electrofishing out in the lake and the river as well to kind of, check on the population, make sure that the environment is healthy, if there's any type of migration that they're noticing. So they have those projects are very clearly structured out for them so they understand exactly what it is that they're doing. And then it helps them too when they're looking at their degree program. If there's somebody in school, they know they've been exposed to this within their coursework, so it's easy for them to relate to.
Thank you. Jennifer, this question is for you. How does Key use the internship program as a talent hiring pipeline? And if so, about how many full-time employees do you hire from your internship program each year? Can you share that conversion rate for us?
You bet. So we do use the intern program as a pipeline. Both the corporate as well as the retail programs are pipelines. Hiring interns with the intent that they will go into our analyst programs, enjoy 3 rotations, and then come out of that as a full-time employee. And our conversion rate is about 77%.
That's outstanding. This is a question for each of the panelists. What do you think makes your program unique, your internship program unique?
For us, I think it's the fact that we recruit all year long for our interns, so we don't have a specific time that we're recruiting in. They can be, at any point in time, I could get a request from somebody for an intern, and the time frame is another thing. So there could be a 4-month-long internship position. It could be a 12-month-long internship position. So those positions last all year long. The hours can be part-time or full-time. And then the other unique factor is 2 of our internship levels, you can be within 24 months of graduation at the date of application. So it allows some of those students who've recently graduated, might not have that work experience built up yet, to have that opportunity to build their work experience to meet the qualifications for other full-time positions.
2 things come to mind. First is that our interns are able to enjoy all the benefits that full-time employees have. So that's from they're offered health care, putting money into the 401k, so for anyone that's considered full-time. They also can enjoy all the amenities that we have at Highland, like the gym, on-site services. So it makes them really feel like they're full-time employees. And then the second thing is it's more of an internship program where they're given projects to do, but just about every week throughout the summer, there's different opportunities such as professional development, where there's lunch and learn sessions, we have a speaker series, there's classes they can take, we have socials, there's a service day. So it's more than just just do your job, 40 hours a week. We really promote collaboration and have it more of a program structure.
So I would say one of the things that we have done is taken our learning labs, is what we call our kind of our lunch and learn, but taken those and are expanding them a little bit this year and looking at how can we help our interns have a better understanding of what are the other opportunities across the bank, even within their line of business as well as other lines of business. And in the spirit of career development, we want to help them learn more, as well as provide an opportunity for them to interview for, in addition to their current program that they're aligned to, up to 2 additional intern or analyst programs that may be across the line of business. And so we set that up for them, provide them definitely some opportunities to learn. Hear from our leaders at the company, the analyst program managers and analysts themselves, so they can understand how things really work, and we'll find it helpful. We've done this in a similar capacity and previously with huge appreciation from our interns.
One other question for all of the panelists, so start thinking about questions that you may have. Here's my final question. Are all of your interns located in the same location? And if not, how do you keep them connected and create sort of that network among them? I know you've talked about some of the social events, a few of the lunch and learns or things like that, but can you speak to, whether all of your interns, again, are at one location, and what do you do to, again, keep them engaged and connected to your organization?
I'll be happy to answer this one. So at Key, we have it within the corporate program. About 2/3 are located in Cleveland, but they're located in 3 different organizations, or 3 different buildings, I should say, across 7 different lines of business. So it adds a little bit of complexity there. And for the remaining of the 400, they're located across the U.S. And so for the corporate program, what we aim to do is offer little social groups, peer groups, that will gather locally if they're in Cleveland, or virtually for those outside of Cleveland. It'll be facilitated by an analyst, so they'll get some different exposure to other lines of business, as well as somebody who's been walked in their shoes. And for the retail program, they align by the markets that they're in.
Great.
So what we do have interns we have 5 locations throughout Northeast Ohio. So we have interns at almost every location, including our largest wastewater treatment plant. So keeping them engaged, we do have 2 Enrichment Day activities that we have throughout the year. One is called the Day of Service, where we partner with an organization called BVU. And we do a half a day of community service, which is with other interns from other organizations. So it's a great networking opportunity for them to kind of meet people that are interns for other organizations outside of their little district bubble. And then it allows them to kind of get out in the community and do something outside of what they're normally doing day to day. And then the second day, or the second half of that day, we do a professional workshop. Every year it changes. Sometimes it's resume building, sometimes it's professional development, like building soft skills, mock interviews. So every day we kind of change the structure of that workshop. And then the Day of Culture we usually do at like a key location in Cleveland. So last year we did the Science Center, and we had different workshops that covered different various topics, and they had 3 hours to kind of go through the Science Center and, engage with each other, and because some of them don't work at every location together, so it gives them the opportunity to learn about what other interns in the district do as well. And then recently, I, with another coworker of mine, have created a Young Professionals Employee Resource Group at the organization. So we have a lot of interns that are interested in that. So we're going to be doing a lot of outside networking events, partnering with other Cleveland YP groups, and partnering with other organizations to come in and do some workshops with them as well. So.
Yeah, the majority of our interns are in Westlake, but we'll have about 20 or so in other locations throughout the country. It is something that we're working on growing, so hopefully that number will be bigger in the future. But I think just trying to keep them engaged and keeping the internship program similar across the board. So that's working with the managers and making sure they're trained the same way. We'll send mailings and different goodie bags for all the interns to make them feel special. We'll also tape some presentations that we have, so maybe some training, some lunch and learns, some presentations from like our CEO and other executive leaders that they can view remotely. So it's just trying to keep them engaged, similar to the others.
Kelly, can you talk a little bit about some of your lunch and learns, like what are some of the topics or who presents there?
Yeah, so different people around the company. So we've had resume building, interviewing tips, how to use LinkedIn, learning about different departments. We had specific organizational behavior classes, different panels where they can learn about different departments too.
Do any of your organizations survey the students at the end of the evaluation? And if so, what kind of feedback are you getting?
Yeah, I'll continue. We send out a survey at the end for all the interns to complete, and we let them take their name off it if they want to give us, valid feedback. And it's been really helpful. It's helped me come up with some fun ideas for them in the future. But we've gotten great feedback, and I think it's a good thing to do.
Yeah, we also send out surveys to our interns at the end. And in addition, this year we took an opportunity to interview previous interns too, just to understand what resonated with them or stuck with them into the analyst programs as well.
We as well have sent out surveys to our interns. Majority of the feedback for our 2 higher level intern positions comes from the performance evaluation that we do with them. So the performance evaluation is based off of the projects they complete. There is a section at the end where they can put their comments and give their feedback as well about their manager and then just their experience overall. So a lot of that feedback does come from their evaluation, as it should. It's kind of designed to be that type of, conversation with the manager, going through their performance and giving them the opportunity to also give their feedback as well. So it's not necessarily a survey, but still helpful information for us to have.
Great, thank you. I can keep going on all day because I manage 4 career centers at Tri-C, 4 campuses, but I'm going to give you guys an opportunity to ask some questions because I know that's why you're here. So who'd like to go first? And can you use the mic, please? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kat Creamer, the Internship Coordinator in the College of Business at the University of Akron. So aside from attending career fairs, what are maybe some other on-campus events that you have attended, whether they're recruiting focused or not, that you have found to be successful in finding potential candidates? Or maybe what are some suggestions that career services or even faculty or departments can offer that you would want to attend?
So we're starting to definitely move away from the traditional career fair. We're just finding that it's not where we're getting the majority of our interns. We feel like settings that are a little bit less intimidating, where you have more one-on-one conversations, opportunities to really get to know the students, have been more successful for us. So examples include maybe setting up a table on the quad or in one of the academic buildings, and students can stop by and you can have those one-on-one conversations. That's been successful. Something that's been really successful for us is getting into the classroom. So whether maybe we have a connection with a professor or one of our students or campus ambassadors is able to get in the classroom or help us get into the classroom, even if it's just 10 minutes at the beginning or end of class, quickly talking about our internship program, giving them the contact information. They can stick around after class, follow up with us. That's where we're really meeting a lot of successful interns.
Mackenzie or Jennifer, how do you identify students or
Well, we do have some early identification opportunities that we do along the way with freshmen and sophomores, and so that would be one additional thing that we do.
So could you give an example?
Where we will bring them in for a couple of days, just get to know them, let them get to know us at Key, offer a few types of content areas like some of the lunch and learns that we've mentioned, and just it's more of an informal interview kind of process, I guess, if you will, but we've identified who we would like to bring into Key.
And are those students identified, like how are they identified? Are you on campus? Are you meeting with faculty, or how do you identify those students to even bring them into your office?
That is a great question that I do not exactly know the answer to, but the head of recruiting, campus recruiting in particular, is here, so perhaps after she can answer that question.
For myself, I've been in the role going on 3 years. So my first couple years was attending a lot of career fairs at a lot of the local colleges to see which one we got the most students from in terms of like what positions they went into. So this year I'm starting to focus a little bit more on those specific college career fairs, if it's an engineering career fair, and then also getting into the classroom like Kelly mentioned and targeting those specific classes to talk to those students directly and have more of a one-on-one or intimate type of conversation with them, and setting up like informational tables as well at the schools. So that's something that we are trying this year in addition to some of those like specific career fairs.
Along the same lines, but from a high school perspective, I know a couple of you use internships with the high schools. How does a high school, or how do we get the high school students in there, and what's the process for those that offer the high school internship?
Yeah, so we have a handful every summer, and a lot of the times they're in the more technical internship roles. So for those, we have an assessment test. So anyone can apply, and if they do well on the assessment test, we don't really care what their grade is, as long as they can perform the job well. I know a lot of those students have been involved in our high tech club before, which is for high school students. They come after school, learn how to code, work on different projects together, maybe we're part of the hackathon. So we've actually identified some really strong students that way.
Hackathon?
Yeah. I don't participate, but it's where we get a lot of students, yeah.
You want to go first? Okay.
But you can still stand there.
When you talk about targeted programs and targeted colleges, we are a small private liberal arts college, no engineering, small business program. But what we try to do is we try to get the students to connect the dots between the skills and the classes they've had and opportunities at companies like yours. How open are you to that process in your particular agencies, and how can we best partner with you for our students? We do tabling, but I'm not sure the classroom visits would work out. So how are some ways we can engage with you?
I'm sure we'd be happy to entertain a conversation and just understand more. We do have targeted universities that we work with for a variety of different reasons. And we're looking very specifically for select skills and experiences that students have had coming into our programs. So.
I think something is you could reach out to the employers and see if you could set up a visit. I know we have schools that come in, they bring 20 to 40 students and give them a tour, information session, and that's a good way to make some connections.
We have a program called Ursuline on the Road, like these little mini field trips. You'll be hearing from us.
Amy, you have a question?
Yes. I'm sure that you all have referral programs for your full-time employees. This year at Lincoln, I've been bombarded by intern referrals more than ever, and it's kind of political, right? So I was wondering how you are managing that and, dealing with those managers when you tell them, I've already filled all the spots, you're late, sorry, and their VPs and all that kind of stuff. So how are you managing that?
Very graciously.
Yeah. Very, very carefully. And with a lot of help from leadership. I think it comes from the top. So if you can get the people up top to kind of support, the way that they're supposed to go through the application process and communicate that downward, that really does make a difference for us. And what I do when I get a lot of that, a lot of employees that have their kids that they do apply to things, and so they'll mention that to me. I'll just say, okay, great, as long as they've gone through and apply, they'll be considered just like all the other applicants, and they'll go through the same process all the other applicants do. For certain hiring managers that have, we don't have a referral program at the district because we're government, so it's a little different, but we still kind of run into that situation, and we just pretty much repeat with the same, just telling them to go through the normal selection process.
Very similar to what they said, but I'll keep track of all the different emails and the names of referrals, and then every winter we've been hosting a winter workshop where we invite college students who are home from winter break to come to Highland, tour, just have some professional development sessions, and if we end up not selecting one of those referrals, we can still invite them to participate in this workshop and then talk about opportunities for the next year, so they still feel included in the company.
Yeah. And we do reach out to those that we receive resumes for. Absolutely.
Other questions?
Good morning.
Stephanie?
So I'm at the Federal Reserve Bank, and I manage the internship program. We have both students from the area as well as from out of town. So I'm curious if, for the three of you, how do you handle the housing option? Do you pay a stipend for that?
So for us, we don't have a relocation program, especially for interns. So we've had a couple students specifically in our health and safety department, since that's such a unique department. They've typically come from out of state. We're looking for a very specific degree program, industrial hygiene, and so they come from out of state. But the great thing about it is they're recently graduated, so when they come here, they basically take it upon themselves to move and relocate on their own. And usually at that level, it's a paraprofessional level, so the pay is higher, so it does kind of help relocate them on their own. We don't pay for it, but other schools that I've worked with, they do housing. So if it's a school that's 3 or 4 hours away or even out of state, they'll work with one of the local schools on putting them up in their housing and paying for their housing through that university. So that's another way that we work with that.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, we have a great partnership with Cleveland State University, and they work with us for start dates and end dates, and we'll pair up a couple of our interns. Most of them who are coming into Cleveland take advantage of that. And there's another agency for which Claire on my team discovered that can help her finding housing out within Cleveland as well as outside in other states around as well. That's through university or private offerings. So.
What's the name of that?
Great question. Claire.
Called Oakwood Properties.
Oakwood Properties. Thank you.
Oakwood.
Oakwood Properties.
So, is there a cost involved?
I'm sure there is a cost involved for the rent, for which we do not, they cannot expense that.
So for our interns who are 50 miles or more away, we will provide them with housing at Cleveland State in some fully furnished apartments for the summer, or they can receive a stipend. So they have the option for one or the other.
How much is a stipend? Sorry.
That's okay. The question was, how much is a stipend?
Around $1,800. Just kind of depends on the summer.
Is that in lieu of receiving pay or?
No, that's just an addition. I guess we feel that if they're from out of town, we don't want them to have their whole paycheck go towards the housing. So, and we don't have a ton every year, maybe 15 or so, but it does help out those students.
So most of you mentioned that you work with, I'm really short, work with certain schools to obviously do hiring. I know KeyBank, you said works about 5, you said local schools. So what's the percentage of students that you take as interns that are outside of kind of those targeted schools or targeted programs? And if a student was to apply from a non-targeted school but had and didn't have the same exact program, like for instance you said the industrial
Hygiene, yeah.
hygiene, but had the experience and had the knowledge and the skills to do it, would you consider them?
Absolutely. I think it's just when I work with the hiring manager during my meeting with them, they make those recommendations. They're the subject matter expert on their field, so having those recommendations is really helpful for them to say, hey, this is a great school, it has this program, you might check out this website as well as like a sourcing opportunity for you to get some additional candidates. But I always, through the applicant pool, I don't, discount anybody that's not necessarily from those schools. So if there's another student that has similar criteria or a similar degree, maybe not that exact degree, but something similar, I definitely keep them in the loop and in the pool at the back of my mind. And we're always looking to expand that outward since it is such a specific area. Just for that example, we're always looking to try and find ways to broaden that to build that talent pool. So we're not just always having to utilize the same schools over and over again. We can kind of expand out from that. So we definitely look at those opportunities. Percentage-wise, off the top of my head, I can't think of a percentage from like the outside of the local schools that we recruit at. I know it's much smaller just because some of our internship positions, they're looking for somebody who can work anywhere from 20 hours a week to full-time 40 hours a week. So if they're in school, somebody who's maybe in a master's program, they have evening classes or they're online, we want them to stay local, or if they're working part-time and going to school part-time, we want them to have that accessibility to and from school. So it depends on the job and the situation, but for more of those students that are recently graduated, definitely opens up the candidate pool a little bit more to broaden that horizon a little bit.
And we do have relationships with select schools across the U.S. to support very specific areas that we're trying to fill. In addition, we will definitely look at any qualified candidate. So resumes come in.
I think we have time for one more question.
Yay. So I work for Oswald, which is a independent risk management and insurance brokerage firm. And we're a small outfit compared to you guys. But we're having some difficulties trying to scale, right? So what are some tools, technologies, anything that you guys use to kind of help like replicate, to kind of help automate, to help, push forward some of the work that's required to put together a program? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think maybe having a designated person to oversee the internship program, someone that can kind of run with it, and it's a big part of their responsibility, I think could be really helpful, that they can put all their focus on that. Maybe having an applicant tracking system to help keep you organized too.
Yeah.
Anything else? You're 400.
Well, I will tell you, we do utilize an app in which to communicate and push communications, provide a social media platform for the interns to interact with each other, provide any non-confidential documentation that we would encourage them to be up to date on, in addition to anything that's just on key.com. Of course, all private would stay on our servers. So that is one way, as well as allowing the analysts to be teachers as, and peer coaches, I guess, if you will, in the small groups that we have. So there's a variety of different things that we do to help scale. I'd be lost if it weren't for the village that's in this room of program managers, other HR partners, Claire on the team, to help make sure that this all comes to life.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I apologize. I should have asked this earlier. Mackenzie, I was wondering if you could share a little bit more about the high school work-study program that you have at the sewer district.
Yes, so we currently partner with 2 local high schools that we have a work-study program with, and one is more of a structured towards a degree program. So those students are currently they have an idea of what they want to do when they go to school, like biology, engineering, like the sciences. So they are currently taking a class towards that degree program, and it counts as a college credit for them as well, which is really great. And then we pair them with a department that's similar to their degree program. So if they're interested in biology, we partner with our lab, and 1 day a week they come and they work in our lab facility, maybe doing some prepping of the equipment, cleaning of the equipment, making sure everything is labeled correctly and organized and ready for those researchers and lab technicians to do what they need to do. And then the other program is not as structured towards their degree program. It's more of getting them exposed to the workplace and teaching them those soft skills that they might not get. So they come in 1 day a week, same thing, and they work in, there's a couple different departments that they can work in, and they just assist those department, their manager or supervisor or various people in the department with different things, whether it's making copies of something or it's organizing something or it's, heading on a project. Like I have a student actually right now who I've trained and helps me post jobs, internship positions on the local school site. So I kind of wrote out the directions for her, and that's kind of her main project that she works on every week when she comes in. If I have a new internship position to post, she's in charge of posting it on those schools for me. So I've trained her on how to do some of those things so she can go ahead and do it herself. So just different areas that they can be exposed to and teaching them those skills on, typing up an email and communicating with different people, answering phones if somebody's calling them, preparing different projects for different hiring managers, and learning how to keep themselves accountable and follow through on different items that they're working on. So it teaches them those soft skills that they might not, be getting in school because they're in high school. And then on the other side of that work study program, that other school that I work with is more degree focused. So they're exposed to something that's directly involved with what they're thinking of going to school for. One that's more degree focused, they're juniors and seniors in high school, and the other side, it's freshman through senior.
And you do it for one school year or for a semester?
One full school year, yep. And both of them is 1 day a week.
As we wrap today's session up, I would like to just ask each of our panelists, maybe in 30 seconds, if you could just, if there's any words of wisdom that you have for educational institutions out there that are trying to cultivate relationships with employers to find experiential learning opportunities for students, what would you suggest we do? And I'll be selfish and ask that because I work in an educational institution. But also, if there are employers here who, again, are trying to scale up what they're doing, do you have any final words of wisdom for them? And I'll give you 30 seconds to answer both.
For the university, for schools, it's great to understand the types of experiences that an employer is looking for, and how can we educate that in a classroom or provide an opportunity to learn that. For scale, the way that we started at Key was starting within a line of business and a program, and it's just grown pretty massively over time. So start small and grow.
I think just partnering with employers, maybe coming on site, having lunch, inviting employers to your campus. If you have referrals, connecting them. You would know your students more than us, so we definitely trust your referrals. And just knowing about maybe different opportunities, all the different internships. Like, for example, at Highland, you think, oh, well, you're only looking for software developers, but that's not true. We have so many interns on the business side, sales, marketing, finance, even in our daycare center. So just knowing, I guess, the different opportunities for each. Go ahead.
Thank you.
So from an educational standpoint, kind of like what Kelly said, the collaboration is huge. So I've found that the best way to get success on both ends is just having that meeting and having that conversation. And what's your expectation? What's your goal? What are you looking to accomplish? What am I looking to accomplish? You're both looking for the same end results, just on different sides of the spectrum. So building those relationships is huge, because I now have relationships built with every local school, so I know who to go to for what. They can point me in the right direction. They let me know of certain events that are going on. The communication is just huge for me, just because there's so much that changes all the time, and the universities are changing at a very fast pace, and so it's good to have at least one person that you've built a relationship up with, so that you can go to and ask those questions. And I think that collaboration is huge. I know Sandy and I have worked very close together on trying to find ways to make streamline a process, make things easier on both ends. And then in terms of starting an internship program, I think it's the same thing, collaboration, whether it's with other organizations who you've seen have a successful internship program and where did they start from. Also utilizing other networks, as even inside your organization, collaborating with other departments to see what their business need is, what they would like to get out of having an intern, to kind of help structure that program itself. And then, talking to schools. Some of those schools have the internship built into their curriculum, so utilizing that as kind of a structure for yourself can help as well.
Great, thank you so much. I started my session today with please stand, and I'm going to end it that way. Please stand and join me in thanking Jennifer, Kelly, and Mackenzie.